True knowledge gives rise to Vinaya or humility. A person who actually has knowledge understands that I am nothing in the overall scheme of things. That Vidya has to give rise to Vinaya, humility, or else it is avidya, it is not Vidya. So from that perspective, you see that a lot of people in the modern day world, modern materialistic education leads to more arrogance than humility, because the spiritual element is lacking. The spiritual element completes education. When spirituality is inculcated in the educational process, at that time, Vidya gives rise to the expected result of Vinaya.
It is probably honesty, at the same time it also is the belief that I am a very small piece in this entire microcosm.
Yes. When there is awareness, humility will naturally arise.
Knowledge doesn't mean that your skill or your intensity of information in your field. You need to be aware of everything around you. Yeah, you may be a great knowledgeable person in HR or in marketing or whatever, finance. That doesn't mean that you know about the whole world.
Yes, doesn't mean you know everything.
Yeah.
Ultimately, everyone is a soul. Today, I might be in a very high position. I might be a human being. Tomorrow, I can be born as a dog also, because the soul keeps transmigrating. So, I have no right to disrespect any living entity.
Pranam Prabhuji. Yeah. Last time we started with the chapter 5 really, and we gradually moved into sannyasa karma really. Yeah. That means you keep doing your duty, but still don't be attached to it really. And how such a person automatically gets elevated, in doing his job and performs his job far better, we saw really, in this way. So let's continue with that whole thing.
So, in text number 18, Krishna speaks about the vision of a person who is on this platform.
Mm-hmm.
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmani Gavyahastini Shrinjaiva Shapake Cha Pandita Smadarshina. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, or an outcast by social standards.
Mm-hmm.
See, this verse begins with Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. Vidya Vinaya. True knowledge gives rise to Vinaya or humility.
Mm-hmm.
See, if true knowledge doesn't give rise to humility, that's not knowledge at all.
Then it is pride.
See, it's ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
See, a person who actually has knowledge understands that I am nothing in the overall scheme of things. That Vidya has to give rise to Vinaya, humility, or else it is avidya, it is not Vidya. So from that perspective, you see that a lot of people in the modern day world, modern materialistic education leads to more arrogance than humility, because the spiritual element is lacking. The spiritual element completes education. When spirituality is inculcated in the educational process, at that time, Vidya gives rise to the expected result of Vinaya, of humility.
Humbleness, yes.
Humbleness. Because a person who actually sees, from another perspective, Vinaya or humility is honesty.
It is probably honesty. At the same time, it also is the belief that I am a very small piece in this entire microcosm.
Yes. Yes.
There is so much more around me. Really.
Yes. There's so much more. So, I think, 1 or 2 Wimbledons ago, Novak Djokovic, he won the Wimbledon. I think it was his 24th Grand Slam. And then he was asked this question, are you a GOAT?
Yes. Great of all times.
He was, he had knowledge of, how knowledge makes a difference. He had knowledge of how things have evolved even in the world of tennis. See, he said a few generations ago, rackets were much heavier. And with a heavy racket, to continue with a rally for long would be very difficult for players. So players tended to finish off the rally faster by playing a volley game more. They used to rush to the net and finish off the game as quickly as possible. To continue the rally with a heavy racket would be very difficult. But as technology has improved, rackets have become lighter, and to continue rallies for longer is much easier now.
Right.
And so the method of playing has also changed. The game has changed because of improvement in technology and so many other factors also. So even the balls also, technology is changing in all fields.
Yeah.
So keeping all this in mind, when you have everything in mind, then you come to a conclusion. So Novak Djokovic came to the conclusion that in order to compare two players, they have to be made to play in the same situation and circumstances.
Mhm.
So it would be not right to call myself GOAT. Because maybe if my predecessors had the same technology, they could have excelled me maybe. Who knows?
Possible.
So that is why when there is awareness, humility will naturally arise. So Vidya, spiritual knowledge, spiritual jnana. See, jnana is actually awakened in this personality who is on the platform of sannyas yoga or nishkama karma yoga. And when such a person's knowledge, true knowledge is awakened, as you rightly pointed out, such a person understands that in the overall scheme of things, I am nothing.
Yeah. And knowledge doesn't mean that, your skill or your intensity of information in your field. Ultimately, you need to be aware of everything around you. Yeah, you may be a great, knowledgeable person in HR or in marketing or whatever, finance. That doesn't mean that you know about the whole world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you know everything.
Yeah.
So, when we have a close mind, if we actually are able to open up our minds also. Now, here we are speaking about a person whose knowledge is totally awakened. To what extent such a person will be humble?
Yeah.
Isn't it? So, that humility allows such a person to respect all living entities because such a person understands that the externals are different. But ultimately, everyone is a soul, spiritual spark, part and parcel of the same God.
Mhm.
And such a person also understands
Yeah.
that today I might be in a very high position, I might be a human being. Tomorrow I can be born as a dog also because the soul keeps transmigrating.
Mhm.
So I have no right to disrespect any living entity.
Mhm.
And such a person has equal vision. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, Brahmani Gavi Hastini. Whether it be an elephant, a dog, or even a person who is an outcast by social standards, such a person respects everybody. This is true Vinaya. See, even sometimes people lose faith in spirituality because a lot of times people who are flag bearers of religion or spirituality, they tend to be arrogant.
Mhm.
And actually, if a person is arrogant, such a person is not really awakened.
Mhm.
Because awakening leads to humility. So, this is a verse beautifully spoken by Sri Krishna here. And then he says, those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman.
Mhm.
A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant, nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the signs of God is already situated in transcendence. The same principles of equanimity.
Mhm.
See, earlier when we discussed it, it was more from a theoretical perspective. Here, from a realized perspective, the same knowledge is being
Mhm.
explained. This person has already reached that platform of equanimity. That is what is put across here. And then there are two groups of verses.
Mhm.
Text number 21. Bhayasparshe swasaktatma vindati atmani yat sukham sabrahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshamashnute. Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within.
Mhm.
In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness. For such a person concentrates on the Supreme. Such a person, Bhaya Sparsheshva Asaktatma. Asakti. There is no asakti. Such a person is detached from external source of pleasure because Vindati Atmani Sukham. Such a person has gained a great treasure from within the heart. And that treasure from within the heart is Sukham Akshayam.
Eternal.
Eternal and unlimited.
Unlimited. Extreme. Yeah.
Unlimited happiness such a person experiencing from within the heart. And so, such a person doesn't look outwards for sense pleasure. Now, another reason why such a person is not interested in external pleasure is because external material pleasure has a serious drawback. What is the nature of material pleasure? Such a person has completely understood and has completely realized. And so such a person is not interested in material pleasure. And what is the nature of this material pleasure is explained in the next verse here. Yai sansparshaja bhoga dukkhayonaya evate adyantavanta kaunteya nadeshuramate buddha. So it is explained here. Yai sansparshaja bhoga. Sansparsha means sparsh, you understand? Touch.
Yeah.
Sansparsha. The contact of the senses with the objects of the senses. Sansparsha ja. Ja is born. Bhoga. Bhoga is enjoyment. The enjoyment that is born of the contact of the senses with the objects of the senses. What is the nature of this enjoyment? Dukkha yonaya evate. It is the root cause of misery. The pleasure that arises because of the contact of the senses with objects of the senses is the cause of misery, Krishna is saying. And he tells it in a very poetic way here. So this is the beauty of Sanskrit language, and the Gita, Bhagavad Gita is Bhagavad Gita because it is Gita. It's a song. It's
poem.
It's a poem. It's poetry. So, Dukkha Yoni. Yoni is, here what is translation?
Womb.
Actually, Yoni is womb.
Yes.
It's womb.
Yeah.
So basically, poetically it is being said that the very moment our senses are contacting the objects of the senses and we are experiencing material pleasure, that very moment when we are experiencing material pleasure, there is a conception of dukkha that is taking place.
You've created dukkha at that moment itself.
You have created dukkha at that moment.
The moment
itself.
you think you've got pleasure, materialistic pleasure, you actually sown the seed at that moment of displeasure.
Yes. See, so the conception of distress has taken place in the yoni, in the womb. It's only a matter of time before that misery will be actually born.
Correct.
See, when the conception takes place, you don't understand that the lady is pregnant. In due course of time, you realize that the lady is pregnant. But initially, when the conception takes place, you don't realize it. Similarly, the conception of misery has already taken place when we are enjoying sense objects.
When you are touching the sense of
when we are in
touch,
yes,
touch itself.
Touch itself, the seeds of misery are already sown. We may not realize it, but it has already happened, and it's only a matter of time before that dukkha, that misery will be fully manifest. Why so? Why does this happen? That is explained in the next half of this verse. Yai sansparshaja bhoga dukkha yonaya evate. Why does this happen? Why dukkha gets conceived? Because the nature of sense pleasure is adyantavanta kaunteya. It has got a beginning and an end. It is temporary by nature. See, let me explain this. We are coming in contact with the objects of our senses. We are enjoying material pleasure. But because the object of our enjoyment is temporary, in due course of time, either it will be destroyed or it will be taken away. And when it is taken away or when it is destroyed, the same object that gave us pleasure is going to give us misery. And because we enjoyed pleasure using that, we have become attached to it now. And when it will be taken away from us, it is going to cause us much more misery than it gave us happiness. See, somebody who is a poor person leads a okay life. See, the nature of material existence is whatever condition you put a person in, the person gets adjusted to that environment. See, this is also Maya only.
Correct.
Narkastopi deham vai na pumans tektum ichchati narakyam nirvato satyam devamaya vimohita. The Srimad Bhagavatam 5th canto says, even in hellish planets, narkastopi deham vai na pumans tektum ichchati. A person doesn't desire to give up the body. Even in hellish planet, a person is trying to squeeze out happiness there also. See, wherever you put a person, the person can get adjusted to that environment. Isn't it? It's like, when a lot of Westerners come, it's like when my Guru Radhanath Swami first came to Bombay, when he saw the local trains, he said, people enter into the local train as if there is a gold kept inside. And when the train stops, people get off the
As if there is a fire.
as if there is fire or snake inside. And I was going by local train to Borivali once. People are hanging like Spider-Man on the windows and all, and a foreigner was clicking photographs. See, when they come to India, they're wondering, how are these people living here? It's inconceivable for them. But people who are in India, we got adjusted to this.
Matter of fact.
It's a matter of fact. And when we go through Bandra, there is something called the Meaty River. It's become a gutter now. So when a train is passing, we can smell it. It's so obnoxious smell that comes. It's a reek. But then there are people who are on the banks of the Meaty River, who have got their homes there. And
They got used to it.
They got used to it.
Yeah.
See, the nature of the world is wherever you put a person, they'll get adjusted to that particular situation.
Acclimatized.
Gets acclimatized. So a poor person will get acclimatized to poverty and he will be happy in his own way. But suppose the poor person is given riches, becomes a rich man, and then the riches is taken away. Then he will be extremely miserable.
Correct.
If he had remained a poor person, he would be better off. Because you have given riches to such a person and taken away the riches, that fellow is in total misery, total suffering. So this is what exactly happens. See, the sense objects are there. When we don't have contact with them, that's not a problem. But when we come in touch with the objects of the senses, and then, we become attached to them, and then when it is taken away from us, it becomes a source of unlimited misery.
Correct. Anger, misery. So what we're saying is, any of these materialistic tendencies always has a start date. Attractions has a start date and an end date.
And because it has got a start date and an end date, they become causes of misery and frustration. See, at the same time, what needs to be noticed here is, it will be a source of misery to you only if you become attached to it.
So,
if you're
desiring it is not a problem. Being attached to it probably is a problem.
See, if you're actually desiring for it, when you get it, you'll become attached to it automatically. See, the point here is, the only way out of this is, you might have contact with the sense objects, but you are deriving more pleasure from within than without. See, when your deeper source of happiness is coming from within, then sometimes the external pleasures comes, sometimes it is taken away. When it comes, it's fine. But when it's taken away, it doesn't cause you misery because you're not attached to it. What you're attached to is the real stuff from within.
Correct.
See, that is why the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavatam is considered to be the postgraduate study of the Bhagavad Gita. So the principles that are described in the Bhagavad Gita, they're elaborated in the Bhagavatam with examples, with real life examples. It is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, but these examples in the Bhagavatam, see, Bhagavatam speaks about these are very
Concepts.
very powerful concepts, very powerful concepts, and on the face of it, it might be a little hard to digest it also. Heavy concepts. But to exemplify these concepts in the Bhagavad Gita, the examples that are given in the Bhagavatam are of Raja Rishis, of kings. See, Bhagavatam, predominantly the Bhagavatam is the story of one king after another. First canto deals with the story of King Parikshit, then the Pandavas, then there is the story of Dhruva, then there is the story of Ambarish, then there is the story of Prachini Parishad. All of them were kings and they were living in royalty. A king has material pleasure in full, but at the same time, they were on the platform of Nishkama Karma Yoga and beyond. So, externally what you have and what you don't have is not really a criteria here. See, a person might be following this principle, but still might be living in a palace.
Correct.
So, sannyas yoga means what? Not external sannyas. Internal sannyas.
Irrespective of where you are living.
Irrespective of where you are living.
What your material surroundings are.
Yeah, yes. See, so for us to be detached, we need to be experiencing a higher pleasure from within. Otherwise, theoretically, it's not possible.
Yeah.
See, that is why on the spiritual path, sadhana is a key ingredient. Sadhana is very important on the spiritual path. When we are doing our sadhana properly, we are growing internally. And on the basis of that internal growth, we become immune to the temptations of the external world. And the joys and the pleasure of the external world can't trap us. See, the pleasures become a problem when they act as traps. And you can't be trapped. See, before Krishna speaks about this verse, how sansparsha bhoga causes dukkha, he's speaking about sukham aksharam ashnute, that the person is experiencing from within the heart. Unlimited happiness, the person is experiencing within the heart. On the foundation of that, such a person can remain detached from the external sources of pleasure. And such a person is not looking for external sources of pleasure also, understanding the nature of external pleasure and being content with internal happiness.
Correct.
See, Dilli bahut dur hai. It is a very far-fetched phenomena, but if you understand it theoretically, to understand where we are heading, it's a source of great inspiration to actually take off on the journey. See, in life, people nowadays, they are so much into tourism, traveling. Why do people decide, this year I'm going to go to Switzerland, Sweden? Maybe they should decide to come to Gordani village also. See, when they see pictures of a particular place, and when they hear about a particular place, maybe some of their friends visited that place earlier, and they came back and gave some very nice reviews. And hearing people, then you're also inspired to actually travel to that destination. So similarly, spiritual life begins with hearing. When we hear these wonderful things, then we are also inspired to start that journey. See, when Swami Prabhupada, he started ISKCON Society in the Western world in 1966. He went to the West. When he went to the West, he traveled by a cargo ship or the Jalduta because he couldn't afford for a plane ticket. So there was a Scindia's steamship company in India, in Bombay. So the head of the company, she gave him a free passage on a cargo ship, not a passenger ship. So in a cargo ship, there was a cabin next to the cabin of the captain, and he occupied it. And it was not very comfortable, in a cargo ship, how comfortable can be a cabin? And it was a voyage which took him almost 30 plus days to reach the United States. The first place where he reached was Boston Harbor. And on the way, he was sick because of seasickness. And he had 1 or 2 heart attacks on the way.
On the way?
On the way.
Oh, I see.
He was already 69, 70 years old at that time. And he had only 40 rupees in hand. And during those times, India or Indians weren't well known in the United States. So there were hardly any Indians, and rupees couldn't be exchanged with dollars. So he was practically penniless. And it was a huge struggle. You should read biography of Prabhupada sometimes. It's called Prabhupada Lilamrit. Fascinating. It's an adventure. It's an inspiration. It can act as an inspiration for entrepreneurs. See, it's a rags to riches story. A person who goes with no money, no investment, with no contacts practically. How could such a person
Have so many followers over a period of time.
establish an international society in a matter of 11 years with centers on all continents except Antarctica? See, so when Prabhupada went there, initially the people who came to him were hippies. See, this was the time when there was this counterculture revolution that was going on. So a lot of youngsters, especially youngsters, people who are in their teens, who are in their 20s, they were experimenting with alternative lifestyles. Even though they are coming from affluent families, they had their own conceptions of spirituality. And they came across Prabhupada, and their slogan at that time was, of these people, of these hippies, their slogan was, don't trust anyone above 30.
I see. That slogan probably still remains.
That's a good point. Especially during that time, they were really, it was on top of their heads. That, because they don't understand us. We are trying to create a cultural revolution and they won't understand us. And here's a person who is 70 years old who walks in and they surrender to him, as they accept him as a guru. So why is that so? Because in Prabhupada, these hippies found a living example of what is given in the Bhagavad Gita. See, the Gita explains the symptoms. For example, the 5th chapter explains the symptoms and the way of thinking of a person who is on the highest platform of Nishkama Karma Yoga. Now, beyond Nishkama Karma Yoga, what is there, we will discuss further in the next chapters. But Prabhupada was obviously way beyond the platform of Nishkama Karma Yoga. And these symptoms were obviously visible in his personality. And when they saw it in him, they also became inspired to walk on the spiritual path.
Good.
See, that is why on the spiritual path, there is Swadhyaya. We study the scriptures. By studying the scriptures, we are inspired, as I was telling. When we hear about all these things, we are inspired to walk ahead. This is Swadhyaya. And there is Satsang. Satsang means what? We have a group of people, some of them might be our peers, but some of them are more advanced than us. So when we see people who are more advanced than us, then seeing their example, we understand that this knowledge is not theoretical. And this advantage the hippies had, when they saw Prabhupada, they understood that Gita's knowledge is not theoretical. It's practical. Because the Swamiji, we can see. See, Prabhupada was available for them 24/7. And they were, Westerners, they are very skeptical people, See, naturally a lot of I can't make a generalized statement like that, but they tend to be more skeptical, especially when it comes to spirituality, religion, etc. So they were really observing Prabhupada. And they understood this person is absolutely genuine. And through that satsang, they are further inspired to grow on the spiritual journey and to keep that satsang intact. That's why Prabhupada created ISKCON. And then there is Swadhyaya, satsang, and then there is seva. We develop the mood of service to others. And then the 4th S on the spiritual path is a sadhana. So, the best sadhana, we have discussed this in previous sessions also, is mantra meditation.
Yeah.
The chanting of the holy names of God. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And the 5th S on the spiritual path is, what did I say so far?
You said sadhana.
Sadhana.
You said satsang.
Satsang.
Seva.
And the 5th is sadachar.
Sadachar. Behavior.
So to try to cultivate the right course of behavior in that. That is sadachar. So these 5 S can help us a long way on our spiritual journey. So in this way, Krishna, before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, Such a person is well situated and is happy in this world. So, before death reaches us, we need to attain spiritual perfection. We are on a race against time, actually. That's what Krishna is telling here. And then, one whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. Such a person is liberated in the Supreme and is ultimately such a person attains the Supreme. And then, Krishna, he ends this chapter by speaking what is called as a peace formula. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarvalokam heshwaram surdam sarvabhutanam jnatva mam shantim rachyati. So what is the peace formula? First of all, understand. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam. I'll read the translation. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So, these things, one understands that ultimate bhokta, the ultimate enjoyer is God. See, if we try to enjoy, we end up in misery. So constitutionally, the living entity is wired for service. Through service, we enjoy. So, one who understands that the supreme enjoyer is God, the supreme proprietor is God, and God is ultimately the best well-wishing friend of all living entities. Such a person becomes peaceful. See, what takes away peace from us is the burden that I have to enjoy. See, suppose a movie is released and people have told you you have to really enjoy it. And with that kind of a mentality, we go, even if it's a very good movie, you won't enjoy it.
You're forced to go.
It's like
that I must enjoy.
Because there's too much of expectations. But if you go there without any expectations, you will enjoy much more.
Correct.
So, see, it's a burden that
dissonance is much less.
Yes. So that burden we need to take off our head, that I am meant to enjoy this world. And I am meant to enjoy more and more things of this world. See, this is another thing that takes away peace from people. See, people, for a small tract of land, across generations, people are fighting with each other in today's world. Nations are fighting.
Yeah.
The cause of war is, I want to be owner, everybody is telling. If everybody accepts that God is the ultimate owner of everything, it becomes a peaceful society. Isn't it?
And I'm doing everything for that person.
Yes.
Yes.
So, he's the ultimate enjoyer, he's the ultimate proprietor, and he's the best well-wishing friend.
I think that third part also is equally
very important. So, even when we go through the ups and downs of life, even when we go through certain reverses, as long as we know that there is this Krishna is there, God is there, who is my well-wisher, who is taking care of me, and as long as I'm trying my best to serve him and serve all living entities for his parts and parcels, he'll definitely take care of me. He's the best well-wishing friend of every living entity. That makes you very peaceful in life. That's what it is. So I think we'll end here. So this ends this last verse. This is the culminating verse of the 5th chapter.
So you're doing everything basically thinking that you're doing it for God.
Yes.
And hence you are at peace with yourself.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you. End of chapter 5.
Vidya Vinaya Sampannaye. Krishna guides us that true knowledge comes from spiritual awareness and it gives rise to humility. A person who is ignorant of spirituality tends to be arrogant and is hence ignorant, not knowledgeable, not awakened. Humility gives rise to honesty and the understanding that you are a very small piece in this entire universe. It allows such a person to understand and respect all living beings around. Such a knowledgeable or awakened person is detached from external pleasures and derives unlimited happiness internally and is attracted to the Supreme. We are cautioned that contact of the senses with sense objects creates temporary enjoyment and has a start date and an end date. Thereafter, attachment to the enjoyment is natural. However, it creates extreme misery when the sense of enjoyment is taken away. Sadhana becomes a key ingredient on the spiritual path. training us to avoid entanglement with external pleasure sources. Spiritual path can be undertaken through swadhyay, that is inspiration through reading the scripture, or through satsang, that is discussing spirituality with like-minded people, or through seva, which is state of service to others, or through sadhana, which is chanting of holy names, or through sadachar, that is cultivating the right behavior. And finally, we have Krishna's peace formula. We need to understand that the ultimate enjoyer is God. We enjoy only through service to Him. We also need to understand that the supreme proprietor is God, and that God is our best well-wishing friend. This awareness takes the huge burden that I have to enjoy away from us. We then don't have the burden of expectation. Friends, that was the last verse of chapter 5. It tells us that God is the owner of everything.